Hello, and how's it, guys, as we say here in South Africa? Thanks so much for joining me this afternoon, my time. Your time could be morning, could be afternoon, depending where in the world you are. I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'd love to know who's listening, and won't you please comment where you're from? I'd love to see where in the world everybody is. I must say, we live in miraculous times. I remember when family came from the so-called old country to the new country. South Africa was a new country in those days, or wherever you happen to be, which is a new country. They left their countries. They never saw their families again. We are so blessed. Here we are, all over the world, the four corners of the world, and we are connected instantly. It's like miraculous. Anyway, that's my little side issue. I must state, I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical profession. These are my thoughts. And if you have any medical questions, please contact your local medical practitioner. In South Africa, keto and LCHF, low carb, high healthy fats, was originally known as banting. Hi, Zivia, Linda, Panina, thanks for joining me. And Paul, lovely to see you all. This is changing and more people are calling it keto. But as you've seen in my previous posts, I often refer to this as banting. It's the method I've used, and I've lost over 65 kilos, 140 pounds since I started. Is this clear? I never know how these things work. This is how I was before I started keto. Thanks, Lillian, for the picture. Most appreciated. I know it works, and as you can see, it works dramatically. Before we get into intermittent fasting, let's first discuss the way we eat. Have we changed from being glucose, i.e. sugar burners, to fat burners, i.e. no more sugar and processed foods? For example, the standard American diet is a sugar burner way of eating. All the sugar, all the processed food turns into sugar, fructose and sucrose in the body. If you're driving a car and you have a gas car, you will not be as efficient as if you have in South Africa a diesel car, or America an electric car. It's the same thing with our bodies. We need to be fat burners. We can keep going much longer. I have succeeded with these different methods. And for you to get intermittent fasting to work, it's important that we get what's called fat adapted before starting with the intermittent fasting. When eating the regular standard diet, the body keeps needing fuel to keep going. When you're fat adapted, you can keep going for ages. I'll give you an example. Before we started keto, my husband used to do cycling for hours. We'd go to the shop, we'd buy these little things that give you strength to keep on going for hours, all these sugar drinks and these little sweets. Changed to keto, and lo and behold, Saturday night he'd have his dinner, small dinner because we had a big meal Saturday lunch. And next morning he'd make us coffee, hop on his bike, and off he'd go. 4 hours later, with his 2 bottles of water, he'd be cycling away, nothing to eat. Come back, not yet hungry, and we'd have lunch 1-ish. That's what fat adaptation can do to you. And that's why intermittent fasting can work so successfully. This is a very short overview on what intermittent fasting is, as when one starts, it's quite overwhelming and can take a while to understand. Hi, Tova. Thanks for joining us. What's the difference between intermittent fasting and starvation? You mentioned to people you're going to be doing intermittent fasting, and they roll their eyes and say, I'm not going to starve. But this is not starvation. According to Dr. Jason Fung, whose fantastic books I use as textbooks for my studying for the certification to become a keto coach, fasting is completely different from starvation for one very good reason: control. Starvation is the involuntary abstention from eating. Starving people have no idea when and where their next meal is coming from. They've either got no money to buy food, or they're in an area where food is scarce. Fasting, on the other hand, is a voluntary abstention from eating, be it spiritual, health, or any other reason. Food's readily available, but you choose not to eat. Fasting has no standard duration, but you can decide how long you want it to be. Is it the time between dinner and breakfast? Is it between lunch and dinner? Whatever it is, however long it is, You may begin and end a fast whenever you wish. Now, why is intermittent fasting such a good tool in healing to lose weight and to actually heal the body? Intermittent fasting involves alternating between periods of eating and consuming meals, i.e., your eating period and periods of not eating, i.e., the fasting time. Did you know that every time you eat, you create an insulin spike in your body? Insulin is the master hormone, and too much insulin in the body creates terrible, terrible havoc. So our aim is to get the insulin as low as possible. So when you have breakfast, there's an insulin pool. And then once again, you have a snack, and up goes the insulin. And then for lunch, an insulin pool. And then you have an afternoon snack and dinner and an evening snack and a bedtime snack. Constant eating creates constant insulin spikes and constant insulin being produced. And we want to stop producing excess insulin. Excess insulin in the body causes insulin resistance, which leads to high blood pressure, high sugar, diabetes, PCOS, and terrible other things as well. I feel that it's a very good idea to gradually work towards intermittent fasting. The first step is to cut all snacks between meals. So how do we make sure that we're not starving in between meals? Well, we have to make sure we have enough fat in our meals. And you're thinking, what? Fat? Yes, remember, fat makes you full and fat makes you thin. Yes, that is so. Fat is the food that triggers insulin the least. Depending on your hunger, have more or less of the healthy fats. Low-fat, lean diets are not the way to go, as this way of eating causes hunger and is not sustainable. So, the trick is to make sure you do not overdo the fats and you may feel uncomfortable. If you do have too much fats, according to Dr. Berg, you'll have bloating, you could have burping, and sometimes even right shoulder pain. But too little fat and your body won't feel full and you'll be hungry. Make sure you have lots of vegetables with your meals to provide you with all the nutrients. This will help you go longer between meals, and the minerals such as potassium will help stabilize your blood sugar. So now you're coping very well with 3 meals and no snacks. What next? You're now ready for the next step. Try pushing breakfast to be later and later the next morning and to eventually drop it and have lunch as your first meal of the day. The big rule is to only eat when you are hungry. You have now done your first fast. Well done. From dinner the night before until all night long and through to breakfast, your body has been able to rest and you are not spiking insulin. This is called the 16-8 method. 16 hours of not eating and an 8-hour window when you do eat. In other words, there's no eating from dinner the night before until lunch the next day. The intermittent fasting works very well, and most people are very successful with this. However, liquids are allowed, which we'll discuss later. Some people, however, like to have an even shorter window period and do 24. This can also help speed up the weight loss. And now on to OMAD. I'm sure many of you have heard this term OMAD. OMAD stands for 1 meal a day. Many of us who have been yo-yo dieting all our lives and have damaged our metabolism or have other health issues, this really gets the metabolism shaking up and helps to get the weight loss going again. Dr. Berg recommends that if one is between just before menopause or during menopause, has a thyroid problem, or if your metabolism has been damaged, this is a way to go. And how does it work? This is a 23-hour fast where the eating period is 1 hour. But as I said, certain liquids are allowed. Intermittent fasting is not a dry fast. It's important to continue drinking. But what is it that we're allowed to drink? Hi, Elia. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Baba. Thanks, Kathleen. So I'd love to hear your comments, everybody. No one's making any comments. What are we allowed to eat to still keep at this fast? We don't want to spike the insulin, so we must ensure we do not have liquids that will spike the insulin. Thus, water, both hot and cold, is allowed, as is black tea or coffee, sometimes with MCT oil or even cream, but not too much. And best of all is the chicken broth, which you can drink all day long. Chicken broth has wonderful nutrients, which the body can use while fasting. And as I said, you can sip on it throughout the day, according to my mentors, which I do. Intermittent fasting and extended fasting helps with other issues besides weight loss. Some of these, according to Dr. Berg, are dropping inflammation due to arthritis or other autoimmune conditions, helping to reverse a cognitive problems such as dementia, and that to me is really frightening. Healing your pancreas, helping with diabetes 1 and 2. I must tell you as an aside, my husband started doing intermittent fasting a year ago. His meeting at his appointment, second last appointment, and at the latest appointment, after his checkup and after all his HbA1c tests and everything, the doctor said to him, you no longer have diabetes. Now, isn't that incredible and something to work towards? Also, if you feel awful eating more than 1 meal a day, then don't. There's no reason to say you have to eat 3 meals a day. 1 meal a day is adequate. However, this is a long-term way to go. I strongly suggest, to be successful, start with 3 meals a day first and no snacking, and see how you go from there. And I wish you success. If you need help sticking to this, or just to get going with a regular keto way of eating, I am a certified keto coach and would love to be able to coach you on your journey with keto. Please private message me or send me an email at livingketowithnat@gmail.com. I want you to remember one thing. Keto works. Here we are before keto, and this is us recently. And it could be you as well. Health benefits, weight benefits, life is great. Thank you for watching, and I'd love your comments.